The great hall of the Galactic Assembly was silent except for whispers of curiosity and doubt. Aliens of all shapes and sizes floated, hovered, and walked around, their eyes fixed on the small human spaceship at the center. It was Earth's latest prototype, a ship designed to explore deep space, sleek yet compact, simple but strong. The humans had worked for years on it, hoping to show the galaxy that Earth was not weak. The alien delegates stared at the ship and began to laugh. "This is their great invention," one of them sneered, its voice echoing across the hall. "They call this a starship. It looks like a child's toy," another mocked, spinning in the air to show its amusement. Even the Galactic Council, composed of the wisest and oldest beings, raised their eyebrows at the tiny craft. The human engineers stood behind the ship, trying to ignore the laughter. Their hearts beat fast, and their hands shook slightly, but they believed in their creation. Captain Lena, the lead engineer, stepped forward, her eyes calm, but her mind raced. "This ship may be small," she said, her voice steady, "but it can travel farther and faster than many of your ships combined." The aliens laughed louder, pointing their long fingers and making strange sounds. "Faster," one of them said, tilting its head. "It will probably fall apart before it leaves the docking bay." Another alien floated close to the ship, tapping its hull. "It feels fragile, like paper," it said with a grin. The humans tried to remain silent, but anger and fear mixed in their hearts. Suddenly, an alarm rang through the hall, red lights flashing. A massive storm in space had created unexpected energy waves, and the prototype systems started to react. The ship trembled slightly, its engines glowing brighter. Some aliens gasped, thinking it would explode, while others laughed even more, expecting disaster. Captain Lena quickly moved to the control panel, her fingers flying across the screen. "Stabilizers online, shields activated, propulsion ready," she said, her voice firm. The ship shook harder, but it did not break, it did not fall apart. Instead, it hovered steadily, its small lights shining like stars, drawing every eye in the hall. The laughter began to fade, replaced by murmurs of surprise. The aliens could not believe their eyes, their mouths falling open. This small ship, it is holding itself in the storm," one whispered, fear creeping into its voice. Another added, "Perhaps, we judged too quickly." Captain Lena smiled slightly but did not speak. She knew this was only the beginning. The prototype had proven that humans were not weak, but there was still a long journey ahead. The storm outside the hall continued to rage, and the prototype prepared to face it. The whispers turned into cautious admiration, but some aliens still looked down at Earth. They did not yet see the full potential of the human race. But Captain Lena and her team knew that soon, the galaxy would remember Earth. For now, the prototype floated proudly, small but strong, ready to prove that humans could rise among the stars. Little did anyone know, the storm was only the first test. The real challenge would come when the ship left the hall and ventured into the unknown. The galaxy would laugh again, but this time, humans would be ready. Far beyond Earth, in the heart of the Andromeda sector, the alien Empress Elira and her young daughter, Lyra, sailed aboard their grand starship. The ship gleamed like liquid silver, its engines humming with power and precision. Elira ruled her empire with wisdom and strength, feared by many and admired by few. Lyra, curious and bold, had always wanted to explore beyond the palace walls, eager to see the galaxy for herself. That day, the stars seemed unusually bright, and a strange energy pulsed through space. Sensors on the Empress's ship beeped rapidly, warning of turbulence and gravitational disturbances. Elira frowned, her sharp eyes scanning the instruments. "This region is unstable," she said quietly, her voice calm but tense. "Prepare for turbulence." Lyra pressed close to the observation window, her wide eyes reflecting the swirling stars. "Mother, it feels like the stars are moving," she whispered, a mix of excitement and fear in her voice. Elira nodded, gripping the control panel tightly, her mind calculating every possible outcome. Suddenly, the ship jolted violently, alarms blaring, lights flickering across the metallic walls. Shields failing, engines unstable. The ship's AI reported in a mechanical voice. The Empress's hands flew over the controls, trying to stabilize the ship. Lyra clung to her mother, her small body trembling. The stars outside blurred into streaks of light as the ship spun out of control. "Hold on, Lyra said firmly, her voice steady. "We will survive this." But no matter how hard she tried, the ship continued to fall through space like a falling star. Then, in a sudden jolt, a strange gravitational pull dragged them toward a blue and green planet far below. "It's Earth," Lyra gasped, barely able to speak through fear. "I've never seen a world like this." The Empress activated emergency landing protocols, trying to slow the ship. Trees, rivers, and mountains came into view, rushing toward them at incredible speed. With a violent crash, the ship struck the ground, skidding across a valley, finally coming to rest beside a small human settlement. Dust and debris filled the air, and the ground shook from the impact. For a moment, everything was silent. The Empress and Lyra, shaken and exhausted, lay slumped in their seats, barely able to move. Outside, humans began to gather, watching the strange, silver ship with fear and awe. They whispered among themselves, pointing at the fallen aliens, unsure if they should approach. Lyra finally opened her eyes, her vision blurred. She saw small, upright creatures with curious eyes staring at her. Lyra stirred, brushing dust from her face, and peeked at the humans. Instead of attacking, the humans froze, afraid yet fascinated. The Empress tried to rise, her strength waning. Her daughter yawned, exhausted from the crash, and lay back beside her. In that moment, mother and daughter, rulers of an empire, slept beside mere humans. The humans watched, unsure whether to run, help, or attack. Outside, the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the valley. The wind carried a strange silence, as if the world itself waited for what would happen next. Little did anyone know, this crash was not the end of the journey. It was only the beginning of a story that would change both humans and aliens forever. And so, under the alien sky of Earth, the Empress and her daughter slept, unaware of the humans observing them, unaware of the lessons they would soon learn. The prototype human ships, laughed at by the galaxy, were not the only thing that would surprise the universe. The morning sun rose over the valley, casting soft golden light on the fallen alien ship. Humans cautiously approached, keeping their distance, their hearts beating fast with fear and curiosity. Children peeked from behind rocks, wide-eyed, while elders whispered warnings about the strange visitors. The Empress Lyra and her daughter Lyra remained still, exhausted from the crash, unaware of the humans surrounding them. Captain Lena, who had arrived with a small team from the nearby settlement, studied the situation carefully. She noticed the power radiating from the ship, the aura of authority surrounding the Empress. Yet the aliens did not move to attack, and for a moment, the humans wondered if they could even communicate. "This is dangerous," Lena said softly, "but we cannot leave them here alone." The humans approached slowly, offering small gestures of peace. One carried water, another food, and some placed simple blankets on the ground near the aliens. Lyra stirred, blinking at the humans, her eyes wide with curiosity and wonder. She reached out a small hand toward one of the humans, touching a rough sleeve of cloth, and giggled softly. Lyra opened her eyes fully, scanning the humans carefully. Her sharp gaze softened when she saw no weapons raised, only cautious hands extended. "This species, they are primitive," she whispered to her daughter, "yet there is courage here." Lyra smiled, fascinated by the humans' determination, their strange but clever tools, and their unpredictable actions. The humans, still wary, kept their distance, forming a circle around the ship and the aliens. They whispered among themselves, debating what to do next. Some wanted to run and hide, others wanted to study the visitors, and a few brave souls suggested helping them repair the ship. Lena knew they had to act carefully, for any wrong move could trigger hostility. Hours passed slowly, the humans observing the aliens, and the aliens observing the humans. Lyra touched small gadgets left on the ground, fascinated by their simplicity and creativity. She noticed the way humans worked together, solving problems without advanced technology. Lyra watched silently, realizing that humans were clever in ways her empire had never considered. A sudden sound made everyone freeze, a low growl echoing from the nearby forest. A pack of wild animals approached, attracted by the commotion. The humans instinctively formed a line to protect the aliens, weapons in hand. The Empress stood slowly, her power radiating, ready to defend herself and her daughter. But instead of attacking, Lena stepped forward calmly, signaling the humans to lower their weapons. She used the prototype ship's energy to create a small protective barrier around them. The aliens paused, surprised at the humans' resourcefulness and bravery. Lyra clapped her hands softly, laughing, delighted by the humans' clever trick. For the first time, mother and daughter saw humans as more than fragile creatures. They were resourceful, creative, and willing to take risks. Lyra nodded slowly to herself. Perhaps, this planet is not as weak as we thought. The humans, unaware of the Empress's thoughts, continued to work together, building trust in small ways. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, an uneasy peace settled over the valley, humans and aliens coexisting side by side. Each side wary, yet curious, learning silently from one another. The Empress and her daughter slept that night, closer to humans than they ever imagined. Outside the ship, the stars twinkled, a reminder of the vast universe beyond. The humans had proven courage and intelligence, but the real tests were yet to come. The aliens had seen potential in this small species, and the humans had glimpsed the power and mystery of the stars. Little did anyone know, tomorrow would bring challenges neither humans nor aliens had expected, and the fragile bond formed today could decide the fate of Earth and the galaxy beyond. Morning light spilled over the valley once more, glinting off the silver hull of the crashed alien ship. The humans had gathered nearby, ready to observe but careful not to disturb the sleeping Empress and her daughter. Inside the ship, Lyra stirred first, her sharp eyes opening slowly, adjusting to the light. Lyra yawned beside her mother, stretching small arms, her curiosity already waking before fear. Lyra scanned the humans outside, her gaze calculating and cautious. She noted their small size, their fragile bodies, and their clever tools. For a moment, she considered retreat, calling for her ship's emergency systems to launch. But something made her pause, something she had never felt before with other species: curiosity. Lyra crawled toward the edge of the ship, peering at the humans with wide eyes. She pointed at a small human device, glowing and beeping softly. "What is that, Mother?" she asked, her voice light but filled with wonder. Lyra looked and realized humans had built such a thing with their own hands. A simple tool, yet clever and practical, and it intrigued her deeply. The humans, noticing the aliens' awakening, froze in respect. Captain Lena stepped forward slowly, keeping her hands visible. "We mean no harm," she said, her voice calm, steady, and full of authority. The Empress nodded slightly, acknowledging the words but remaining cautious. Lyra, on the other hand, inched closer to a human, her small fingers brushing against a rough sleeve. The human froze, then smiled gently, sensing no danger. Lyra spoke, her voice firm yet measured. "You are different than we expected." Lena bowed slightly, replying, "Humans are strong in ways you cannot always see, Your Majesty." Lyra giggled softly, fascinated by the human's gestures and simple tools. She began to examine small gadgets, pushing buttons and testing levers. Lyra watched quietly, noticing how humans used creativity instead of raw power. This was unusual, and it sparked a strange respect in her heart. Suddenly, the sky shifted, dark clouds forming at the horizon. A distant rumble warned of danger approaching, perhaps from space, perhaps from the wilds nearby. Lena glanced at the Empress, sensing the tension, and nodded. She understood that the aliens were powerful, but humans could also fight with cleverness and courage. Lyra stood, her tall figure casting a shadow over the humans, yet her tone was calm. "Perhaps, we can learn from each other," she said quietly to her daughter. Lyra smiled brightly, excited to explore this strange and unpredictable species. The humans began to communicate, using gestures, tools, and small words. The Empress listened carefully, learning about human thought, creativity, and resilience. Lyra tried to imitate human actions, experimenting and laughing. For the first time, mother and daughter realized that humans were not just weak creatures. They had potential, hidden strength, and the ability to surprise even the most powerful beings. As the sun dipped lower, shadows stretching across the valley. A sense of trust, small but growing, filled the air. Humans and aliens looked at each other not as enemies, but as curious observers. The wind carried whispers of distant stars and the promise of adventure. Both species had much to learn, and the day's events had begun to change everything. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, testing courage, intelligence, and the fragile trust formed today. But for now, the Empress, her daughter, and the humans shared a quiet moment of understanding. The galaxy beyond waited silently, unaware that this small valley on Earth was becoming the stage for something extraordinary. The sun rose over the valley, painting the alien ship and human settlement in gold and silver. The crash had left the Empress Lyra and her daughter Lyra shaken but alive. Humans gathered around, ready to help, their small hands moving with determination and care. Captain Lena knew the real test was not only to repair the alien ship but to prove the strength of Earth. The prototype human ship sat nearby, sleek and small but strong, its engines ready. The storm from before had left scars on the land, but the humans had survived and adapted. Lena climbed into the control seat, checking every system. "This is our chance," she said softly to her team. "We will show them what humans can do." The aliens watched carefully, their expressions curious and unreadable. Lyra peered over her mother's shoulder, fascinated by the human ship's design. The Empress remained silent, her sharp eyes scanning every movement. She had witnessed humans' courage, but now she would see their ingenuity firsthand. Suddenly, a warning alarm blared across the valley. An approaching threat from the skies, a fleet of alien pursuers, had tracked the Empress and her daughter. The humans froze, realizing the danger, yet Lena's resolve strengthened. "This is it," she whispered. "Time to prove ourselves." The humans rushed to the prototype ship, activating its engines. The small craft hummed with energy, shields glowing and propulsion systems roaring. Lena maneuvered it carefully, weaving through the trees and rocky terrain. The pursuers fired beams of light, trying to strike the human ship, but the prototype moved with unexpected speed. Lyra watched, her eyes wide with amazement. "This is incredible," she said quietly, pointing at the ship as it dodged and countered. Lyra, her face serious, nodded slowly, seeing humans' cleverness in every move. Their small bodies were fragile, yes, but their minds were sharp, their strategies precise. The humans lured the pursuers into a narrow canyon, where the prototype ship's shields and speed gave them the advantage. Lena fired carefully, disabling the enemy ships without destroying them. The pursuers retreated, surprised and humiliated by the unexpected skill of Earth's human crew. Lyra's eyes widened, realizing that humans were not weak. Even their small ships could outthink and outmaneuver much larger forces. Lyra clapped her hands, laughing with delight. "Humans are amazing," she exclaimed, unable to hide her excitement. The Empress finally smiled, a rare and gentle expression. "You have proven yourselves," she said, her voice calm but filled with respect. "Earth's people are clever, courageous, and strong in ways we underestimated." Captain Lena guided the prototype ship back beside the alien ship. The humans and aliens stood together, observing each other with newfound respect. The Empress reached out, offering a gesture of peace, which Lena accepted. The bond between species had grown, forged through courage, ingenuity, and trust. As night fell, the stars shone brighter than ever over the valley. Earth's prototype had survived ridicule, storms, and danger. It had proven that humans were worthy of the stars. The galaxy would soon notice Earth's strength, and the humans would no longer be underestimated. Mother and daughter, Empress and Princess, now saw humans in a new light. The humans had faced fear and danger and had triumphed through wit and courage. Tomorrow, new adventures awaited, but today, humans had earned their place among the stars. The prototype ship hummed quietly, ready for the next journey. And Earth, once laughed at, had begun to claim its destiny in the galaxy.